Welcome, everybody, to today's episode of The Lindsay Elmore Show. I am so excited because today I am talking to Dr. Jess Peatross about a lot of topics that don't often come up in the normal medical litany. We're going to be talking about chronic infection and how these stealth infections can affect our overall total well-being, and what can we do to simply live healthier lives day in and day out. After that, I am going to talk to you a little bit about how you can find your people. 2020 has been a stressful year, and many of you may have recognized that people you once kept in touch with maybe have fallen to the wayside, and you may find yourself in a position where you simply want to meet people who really understand you, who get you, and appreciate you exactly as you are. Let's get to the show. Welcome to The Lindsay Elmore Show, a podcast that helps you find fulfillment amidst chaos. On this show, I interview thought leaders, doctors, creatives, spiritual gurus, and game changers who inspire you to pursue your dreams, overcome obstacles, and leave your mark. Most of us like to think that we are innately built for health. But so why then are 40 million Americans suffering from anxiety, 20 million are suffering from depression, 1 American dies every 37 seconds because of heart disease, a person dies of cancer every single minute, and last year alone, more than 70,000 people died from drug overdoses? It seems like there should be a different perspective, a new way of looking at things. Because ultimately, when you take a step back and just go, why? Why are people dying in excessive numbers in the richest nation in the world versus our fellow countries, which really are very similar to us? We have populations of the same age, the same racial diversities, but yet we in the United States are dying in inordinate amounts. And the worst part is that most people seem to be very, very scared of what death may look like for them. So Dr. Jess is a visionary of the future of healthcare. She is an expert in the field of stealth infections and infectious disease, biologics, and regenerative medicine, cannabis, ozone, and environmental toxicities. She is a board-certified internal medicine physician who trained at the University of Louisville. And during this time, Dr. Jess experienced what many of her patients are suffering from today: anxiety, hormone imbalances, adrenal dysfunction. She, like I, began to seek out what are the real answers that actually get down to not just putting a Band-Aid on things, but what is actually causing all of this. And she, like I, started with herself and then learned to apply it to patients. She realized that allopathic medicine was not the perfect fit and not the perfect solution that actually healed chronic disease. Not only is she trained in the realm of functional medicine, but she has a soft spot in my heart for being trained in Gerson therapy, ozone therapy, and nutrigenomics. Her philosophy now embodies that true health encompasses not only the body, but must include the mind and the spirit, which helps to contribute to true health. What she has learned and wants to share with the world is so profound. Your body is perfect, just the exact way that it is. What we have control over is that most disease comes from our lifestyle, our diet, our environment, that ultimately changes our genes and prevents us from having a real chance to get better. Today, I'm so excited to talk to Dr. Jess because she and I both share the radical belief that the body actually wants to be free from chronic disease and be well every single day. So Dr. Jess, welcome to the Lindsay Elmore Show.
What an introduction. Thank you. I'm honored. Yeah, we see eye to eye.
Absolutely. So just to give our listeners some background, you and I were supposed to be on the podcast a couple weeks ago together. I was in New York. I thought you were in California. We get on the phone. Little do we know that we're both relocating to Asheville, North Carolina. And so here we are in Asheville, taking a breath, taking a moment.
It's lovely.
It is. It's really lovely. And so tell us, start us back from the beginning. What is missing in conventional medicine?
Oh, wow. So many things. Conventional medicine, I feel like the biggest thing that's missing is the art of medicine and the intuitive side of medicine. You have your intuition and then you have science and logic, and both are needed in medicine, because before we had standardized testing, and before we had all the standardized tests and procedures and operations and everything we do, it took a very skilled practitioner to be able to look at someone's face and say, you have hypothyroidism, I can tell by your eyes, or by the goiter in your neck. And I feel like we've lost that art of medicine, and that's the human connection. It's not just another number, it's not just pushing another button on the computer. It's the human connection that's been lost. And that's the art of medicine, the beauty, the tenderness of medicine. And not just that, but really in chronic illness, we now give a pill for every ill. On top of that, I think it comes out of that, what I just described. And we don't look for the root cause of why that person's in pain. The body is giving you a clue. It's screaming at you, actually. Something's awry. Something's haywire. I don't want you to cover it up or slap a Band-Aid on it. I want you to figure out why it's gone awry. Because no matter what someone presents with, I ask why. Mm-hmm. And I will say this goes mostly for chronic illness and chronic disease. If we broke a leg, we're in an accident, we probably go straight to the emergency department. So thank God for emergency medicine when you need it. But you also need a different way with chronic health. As an internal medicine physician, giving 30 pills and discharging people never made me feel good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. When I as a pharmacist, I remember one patient came in completely catatonic, just completely out of it. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. And so, the night goes by of the emergency room, and the next morning they're like, the residents are like, we don't know. We've done CAT scans, we've done MRIs, we've done muscle tests, we've done this, we've done that. And I'm like, hey guys, has anybody looked at her medication list, which is 54 medications long? They brought her medication bag in a garbage sack, which was not only just the way that they transported it, but it was a way of the way that they felt about it, the way that they emotionally connected to it. And so, I went through and I slimmed down our medicine list, and me and the physicians agree, like, okay, well, let's come down to like these 8, which is still...
That's a big chore.
A lot of medication. It's a big chore. And 4 days later, she's up, she's walking around, she's fine. And so I agree with you. And one of my other guests, Dr. Connie Grouds, who is a pharmacist who also practices shamanic medicine, she said the same thing, that what is lost in medicine is the laying on of hands. It used to be this huge process of like, if I can't touch you and see you and feel you and understand what's going on with you, we've lost the art of medicine. I think that's so beautiful.
It's the humanity of it all. Really, it's not just looking at numbers and objective data. It's looking a person in the eyes and feeling their pain and feeling and listening to what they're complaining about or loving, and being able to feel their energy. That's the art of medicine. It's not just standardized objective evidence. You treat each person as an individual human.
Yes. It's, as I've said so many times, there's no place for medical totalitarianism. There's no place for one size fits all. And I think that in our modern day and age, guidelines are like the death of people. I've been fussed at for so long because people say your blood pressure is too high. And I'm like, can you demonstrate to me that every single human being is supposed to have the exact same blood pressure? Right. It doesn't work that way.
These stats come from a bell curve. And, the bell curve, the highest part of the bell curve is the majority of the population. But then there's always outliers. There's always people who don't fall in those standardized categories. And that's okay. That's how we're made to be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So one of the things that you say is missed so often is chronic underlying infections.
Oh, yeah.
And you've talked about Lyme disease. I know that Epstein-Barr is a huge concern. So tell us about not only these underlying viral infections that can impact our health, but what about environmental toxins such as mold?
Oh, this is a good one. So these are things that in conventional medicine doesn't really talk about. I can remember when I was in school in a residency, I never once saw a case of mold. Never once. I think I may have seen an acute Lyme case once, but where I went to school, they didn't really teach us so much about chronic Lyme. So this is a novel just area of medicine I had never investigated. And when I started getting these difficult people who were actually really young and they're much sicker than their grandparents, ages 20 to 40, all these autoimmune conditions, fatigue, brain fog, which there's no ICD-10 code for. Who figures that out, right? Fatigue, just very generalized symptoms. And so I started wondering, why are the people who so young, especially women, coming to me with these diagnoses? There's not something wrong with their body. It's just not in their genes. I know that's what I was taught, but something feels wrong about that. Mm-hmm. I don't really think it's in everyone's genes. And when you look at the books that I was taught by, they just say, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know. It must be in the genes. It could be something environmental. We don't know. Mm-hmm. And that just wasn't enough for me. And so I started digging and I got into the functional medicine world where I realized, hey, there's more to test for with Western blot and ELISA on Lyme. There's other ways to test for mycotoxins. Did you know that this is a common thing where 40% of houses have current water damage? And it just blew the lid off my brain. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then when I started realizing what was going on with people, I kind of got into the world of binders and opening up drainage pathways. And then everyone began to get better and improve. And then I started looking at tests and seeing how many of these people had chronic stealth infections that were being missed by mainstream medicine. And the proof is in the pudding. When they heal, what can people say? My patients are healing, and it's because I believe them. Mm-hmm. When they come to me and they say, I was exposed to this, I was bit by a tick, it was engorged, I saw a bullseye rash or not. Right? Most people don't see it. Or I feel like I smell this moldy smell every time I'm in my house, and I feel like I get brain fog and depersonalization when I'm in there, but everyone thinks I'm crazy.
Yes.
I'm not going to be another person to call you crazy. Mm-hmm. How is that my job?
I cannot agree with you more. I think that one of the biggest downfalls of modern medicine is there's no time to listen to anyone. And when people come in with all these seemingly unrelated symptoms that you're trying to piece together, the easiest thing to do is say, you're crazy, here's a benzodiazepine, here's a sleep aid, here's a this, here's a that.
Yeah.
But it dehumanizes the patient.
I wish you could hear the patients after they've seen those doctors who've done that to them. Mm-hmm. It is heartbreaking. It's probably 80% of the people I see. I was called crazy, I've been on 9 antidepressants. That's not okay. Mm-hmm. How are we taught that as practitioners or doctors or leaders in healthcare? To treat people this way.
Well, and I think a lot of it is we've lost the art of investigation. I think one of the ways that physicians and pharmacists work so well together is physicians are excellent diagnosticians. You just dig at it and dig at it and dig at it. And if you give me a medication list and say something's going on with this patient, I can find where a medicine root cause could be. And if you give me a diagnosis and say, Lindsay, help me fix it, boom, we're marching arm in arm. But I think there's so much territorialism and so much well, this is my cardiac patient. Well, that's my endocrine patient. Well, that's my urinary patient. This is a person in front of you. It's a person in front of you. Mm-hmm. And so for people who have been through that experience, if they've been to the doctor, they've been told they're crazy, or they've just gotten well, it's just fibromyalgia, where do they start? How do you, because most people are looking on Google, what do people look for to find a clinician that has a different perspective that can help them to really understand you're not crazy, there is something else going on that we need to address.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest thing. I always tell people, find a doctor that will listen, but how do you find those practitioners? How do you find them? Because what conventional medicine has done a great job of is standardizing everything. So it's a big network where everyone can talk, everyone can find everyone. You're ready-made when you come out of medical school and residency to have a job made for you. In naturopathic school, they have to take business classes. It's not that way. They have to create their own business. They don't have a ready-made model to step into. So, I do feel like it's hard as physicians. I feel like we need to kind of just look at how other people are doing it. We need to kind of have respect for people like chiropractors and naturopaths. And instead of everyone being the enemy, we can work together. And so to find those people is difficult. The Institute of Functional Medicine does a great job, IFM, having a list of doctors who are certified in their program or in integrative health. For me, I didn't go through their program. I went through Gerson Therapy. So that's another way that you can find a list of practitioners on their websites. Same with biological dentists. So there are people stepping up to try to standardize this so you can find the practitioners and the help you need, but it's not perfect yet. It's not, we still need more standardization. We still need to get the word out more. And so that's why I think we're online on social media educating people with our degrees.
Well, somebody's got to.
Right.
I mean, it's a scary world out there sometimes being in natural wellness, because it's very difficult to go against what is considered the norm. And it's the summer of 2020, and spring and summer of 2020 have been some of the scariest times, especially when you're talking about how do we look at chronic underlying infections as a risk factor for recurrent acute infections?
Correct.
So talk to our listeners now, the listeners who have Lyme disease, who lived in a house, even maybe as a child, because that's one thing I love about functional medicine. It's not about what's happening today. It's what's happened your entire life. So they may have lived in a house with mold as a child. What are some simple steps that they can do that it's not about the one time, it's about doing it every single freaking day? So what are some things that people who may think, I don't know what's wrong with me, I haven't been tested, but who knows, maybe I have Epstein-Barr virus, or maybe I have chronic Lyme, where can they start?
Well, first, let me say that, not to discourage everyone, but we all have exposures. There are certain things that are just ubiquitous in this environment, like corporate toxins. That's what I like to call them, environmental or corporate toxins, because they are from corporations. Plastics, pesticides, petroleum, all that good stuff, the P's. And so, really, if you think about it, we all have exposures to pathogens too. We're made up of microbes.
We're more bacteria than we are human.
Yes, exactly. And we have a human virome with bacteriophages that help protect us as well. We even have certain levels of fungus and candida that are supposed to be there. All these things aren't really awful unless they overgrow and become opportunistic. And I liken our bodies to what we've done to the earth. When you strip the soil of the earth, or you strip the bacteria of your gut with antibiotics or other synthetic medications, then you don't have that protection, and things can overgrow out of sorts, and the ratios become wrong, and then you don't have a microbiome, you have a pathobiome. So I can almost tell most people that you probably do have something. I'm sure we both do too.
For sure.
We all do. And so where it becomes a problem is if your innate toxin bucket becomes overflowing. And then you get symptoms or a diagnosis. And I liken it to having to dump that toxin bucket back out to bring you back to homeostasis, because you've had too many exposures and now your body is not able to release. You're holding on to things that are not supposed to be in your body, and the body eventually becomes haywire with its communication that way. And it's trying to tell you, hey, there's something here that doesn't belong. Hey, can we get this out of us? Because I'm not doing a very good job right now. So if people have just random vague symptoms, brain fog, fatigue, just can't get the weight off, and you're eating like a bird, like you don't eat gluten, you don't eat sugar, you don't eat dairy, what's wrong?
All the things.
All the things. Sometimes I love diet, it heals, but every now and then with stealth infections, it's not enough. And this is what I see. So I would tell people, definitely look at your drainage pathways. And that, when I say that, I mean things like, can you sweat? Do you poop normally? I mean, really, you need to know and you need to look at it. Do you have undigested food in your stool? Is your bile all screwed up? Do you have cellulite all over your body? Fat holds fat-soluble toxins, and that's your body's protective way of walling that off away from the bloodstream. How intelligent. But if you see that, there are clues that things, can you not tolerate caffeine or alcohol? Okay, how are your blood sugars if you fast all day? Are you hangry? Are you homicidal? This is an issue. It's an issue we need to talk about. This means your drainage pathways are blocked. And most of my patients, the great majority, if I open their drainage pathways, just take a month to do that before I put them on any sort of regimen to kill Lyme or bind up mold or whatnot. I need to make sure all their pathways are working normally.
Yeah, because if you don't, then you're binding it and it has nowhere to go.
And then you're not friends with people after that.
Oh, no, they're sick.
I will not come to see you again.
No.
And so, you learn that the hard way in your career, and then you work with it, and you say, this is how the body works. So honestly, I can get most people better by just opening their drainage pathways. 50% better. They will feel better just because their body is able to hit an exposure, release, release, in and out, in and out, in and out. You get in trouble when there's things that stick in and they don't have a way out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember way back in the day watching a documentary about plant-based eating, and it was talking about how when people are overweight, the common thing is, I gotta go and sweat this out in the gym.
Yeah.
But if your body is so toxic, you can't evaporate those toxins through your skin. They have to come out through your bowels. And so if you're not having normal bowel movements and you're not able to get rid of all the junk, I agree with you. There's no way that the weight's just going to magically fall off just by working out.
No, there's no way. And people get so frustrated, and my heart goes out to them because I know as a woman how frustrating it is to feel like you're suffering and punishing yourself every day with food. Yes. You can't enjoy yourself, and yet the weight has nowhere to go. And when it comes to that, I want you to know there's some sort of inflammation. There's some sort of like hormone sequela that's been messed up, usually by one of those other reasons I said: environmental, corporate toxins, pathogens, emotional trauma and stress, all those things. One of those things has messed up that sequelar hormone pathway that talks from the brain to the glands. Mm-hmm. And so until we fix that, we can't fix anything else that helps you lose weight. We can't fix your hormones. We can't fix the adrenals. We have to get all that in order. Your body has to be in homeostasis first.
Yes. And so I want to take one step back. So you said something that I don't know that a lot of our listeners have heard of, and that is the pathobiome.
Yeah.
So we all talk about the microbiome. So, and I want you to talk about the virobiome. So, I think right now there's a lot of confusion about what is a bacteria, what is a virus, what is a bacteriophage. Yeah. So talk to us about the interplay and how viruses can actually be beneficial to us. Mm-hmm. And then what happens when things go askew and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I've got a full-blown C. diff infection. I've got, a full-blown virus. So how do bacteria and viruses interplay in our body? And then how can our listeners recognize those early signs that things may be going haywire?
So first of all, a pathobiome. And where I got this term is a few studies that showed that people's microbiome would fully change after they had, let's say, a very devastating motor vehicle accident or had to go under a very serious surgery. And then within hours, they did this in mice, the microbiome changed to a more pathogenic microbes that were present there due to the stress and trauma that was being bestowed upon their body at that time.
So the microbes that are more likely to produce inflammation versus
Correct.
Soothing inflammation.
Correct.
Okay,
exactly.
Gotcha.
And because of that can actually change the neurotransmitters, the level of GABA neurotransmitters in the brain based on the gut micro composition. Mm-hmm. So it's really important because this connection is so valuable and powerful. And people need to understand that if you're eating junk and your gut's a mess, you're probably not going to be thinking the best either. The two are inherently connected. And as far as our microbiome goes, if it works correctly as nature or the universe, source, whatever you want to call it, intended, because there's no mistakes here, right? God, the universe, source didn't say, oh, here's the human body, it's wonderful, but I forgot the immune system, you guys have got it. That's not what happened.
Right.
So these things work in a very delicate balance.
True story.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have to look at it like that. We have bacteria that are supposed to be there. People will say, oh my gosh, Clostridium is so bad or E. coli is so bad. No, you're supposed to have it there in a certain phyla category in certain ratios. It's very important that when they give the opportunity to overgrow, if you wipe your good guys out, they will. They will. So you guys may not know you have a human virome too, which is about 300 trillion viruses. Now, viruses aren't living, right? They're just an empty little capsid shell. There you go. And they actually overtake our system and have our system, they're very intelligent, our system make extra viruses for them when there's an invasion or a viral infestation, if you will. However, there's bacteriophages, which work with the bacteria in combination in our gut to help protect us. And there's a huge communication between all this that we don't fully understand completely. But I don't know, Lindsay, if you've heard about quorum sensing.
No, tell me about it.
So quorum sensing is, well, I'll give an example of an animal that does it. Have you ever seen, I think it's the squid or octopus deep in the sea, and it lights up all these beautiful fluorescent colors. That's bacteria that live in it. And they talk, and they know exactly when to light up all at once. And it's a symbiotic relationship between this squid, octopus, and the bacteria. And that's quorum sensing. Everyone's always asked, how did the bacteria know in their communication to light up all at once in this symbiotic relationship? And what we found is a lot of these pathogens can talk interspecies, and within each other we don't fully understand to form a collective biofilm of pathogens that work together as a community, and they can speak via quorum sensing and cytokines, little messengers, chemical messengers we fully don't understand yet. So when we take antibiotics, when we take steroids, birth control pills, all these things that have the potential to change our microbiome, we're really changing the communication and the micro environment there that helps to protect us, and then we're just now fully grasping that.
And it's interesting. It sounds a little bit like when trees send off signals to know that like a stressor is coming. Pull your water back down to your roots, all of those things. We see evidence that nature communicates in all kinds of ways. And, I made a joke the other day, but I think it is so true. The theme of 2020 should have been the microbiome in me recognizes and acknowledges and is grateful for the microbiome in you, because we are in the midst of something that humans have never been through, which is saying like we shouldn't be around other humans. And it's like, wait, where did that come from? And everything that's not just us, but if what you're saying is true, to where our biomes and our virobiomes and our pathobiomes and our microbiomes all interact with one another, we're confusing not only our cellular self, but we're confusing our most ancient cellular self as well.
Absolutely.
Which is scary.
Absolutely. And you can see that a little bit in herd immunity. When you get to a certain point, where so many people have an infection or in the population, there's not a risk that it will spread as much anymore. And why is that?
I mean, it's because we all engage with each other. We get these low-level exposures to bacteria or to viruses or to parasites or whatever it is. And then our immune system just goes, oh yeah, okay, I got that. Oh yeah, okay, I remember that. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, never seen that before. Let me try something new until I get it right.
And what you're saying is, what you're really truly saying here is that our immune systems get better with exposure. And that's true.
I mean, everybody remembers chickenpox parties as a child. That
is
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we sort of have a different perspective on this now. And, I don't know if we want to get into vaccines too much, but that's another way to achieve herd immunity is vaccination, so they say. There's two different schools of thought, basically. There's a school of thought that we can gain herd immunity through being stronger in groups and all being exposed, or there's a chance we wait on a vaccine and get herd immunity that way. So there's two different schools of thought there.
There's definitely two different schools of thought. Both are valid. I think the risk is when there seems to not be a place for just a logical, meaningful, rational conversation. Right. And that's what concerns me about our modern experience is we are taught that there's this one way to practice medicine, to practice pharmacy, to do research, to do when really and truly, if we all take a step back and take a step kind of out of our logical self, we know what it takes to be healthy. I mean, come on, guys. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Eat better, sleep better, have better relationships, and just be joyful.
Go out in nature.
Go out in nature.
Don't spend your time on the computer all the time.
Oh,
And seriously.
I am guilty.
And me too. And we all are. And that's the thing. Like we all know what it takes to be healthy. It's like we've forgotten in modern day society. And I'll be the first to say that, almost 70 vaccines before the age of 18, one more isn't going to make us any healthier. Right. I'm sorry. It's just not. And if I may say as well, I think the further that we get from the earth and nature, the further we are from health. So I know that we're trying not to overwhelm the healthcare system, but masking everyone and not letting them get fresh oxygen is a step away from earth and nature. And I think that we've kind of decided in modern day that nature is wrong a lot and not out to help us.
Which, when in history has that ever been true?
Right, exactly.
Jess, I could talk to you all. I was like, we're going to be recurring guests. We're just going to need a spot every single month because we barely even scratched the surface. I mean, we knew it from the first moment we were on the phone. Like, we are sisters from other misters. Yes. So before I let you go today, can I ask you a couple of lightning round questions?
Let's do it.
What is your greatest strength?
Forgiveness.
What are you still struggling with the most?
Boundaries.
Oh, loads. What keeps you up at night?
The state of the world.
Me too.
Yeah.
If you could go back and give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
You're going to be okay. Like, the stuff you go through isn't going to kill you. You're going to be better for it. I know. I hate it when people tell me that in the moment, and here I am saying it afterwards in hindsight, but it's true.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's one of those things when you're in that moment, you're like, don't talk logic to me. I know. I just want to be angry. Let me be angry. Who has been your greatest inspiration?
Man, that's hard for me. Wow. Greatest inspiration. I really love Eckhart Tolle. He really helped me a lot in his books early on.
I got so pissed off at Eckhart Tolle the other day because I'm listening to him on this podcast, and he says, stress is nothing more than wanting the present moment to be something other than what it is. And I was like, shut your mouth, Eckhart Tolle. Don't speak truth to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He's amazing.
Love it. Listeners, if you haven't read The New Earth, it's so good.
Everything, all his books, even The Power of Now, all of them.
So good.
Really changed my life. Absolutely. I'm trying to think, my mom too. I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for her.
Mm-hmm.
So
last question. God to you is?
Energy.
Just all the things.
Loving energy.
Well, Dr. Jess, tell people where they can come and find more information about you and how they could potentially become your patient, all the things.
Okay, so I've created the dancing bear model for myself in my career a little bit because I love one-on-ones with people, but I have a year wait list right now at Nourish Medical Center.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
So she is muy popular.
So I'm kind of like, these people have been waiting. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to them. So I'm in the middle of trying to create a subscription plan on my website for people.
Fantastic.
So they can have bi-monthly, webinars with me. They can win a free consult every month, all that stuff. So I'm trying not to leave people hanging.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and
tell them where to find your website.
www.drjessmd, so Dr. Jess MD, and then .com. And then you guys, I'm really active on social media too. I don't have Facebook right now, but I have Instagram. So it's Dr. Jess MD.
Everybody go follow Dr. Jess, my sister from another mister, and thank you so much. And we will see you another day, another time. I cannot wait to collaborate with you more.
I'll be back. Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Deciding which Young Living product is right for you should not be hard. Unfortunately, it can be completely overwhelming because there's so many products to choose from and so many different opinions online. I've partnered up with a company called Essential Genome to bring you a privacy-insured DNA test kit that looks at your actual genetics to decide which areas of your life you may need more support in and which areas of your wellness you may already be a rock star. Knowing that DNA, we then correlate that to young living products that help you to decide in which areas of your wellness you need the most support. Head over to www.essentialgenome.com and let them know I sent you by using the code LES at checkout. Best of all, you can select from just getting a report. This is the right option if you have done a DNA test kit in the past and simply want to upload your results. Or you can choose from a privacy-insured DNA test kit and the report in combination. The test is easy to do at your home. You simply swab the inside of your cheek and mail it back to them, and they generate your DNA and give you the report on which Young Living products you might need to support your body. So head on over www.essentialgenome.com and let them know I sent you by using the code LES to save $30 at checkout. There really is a special thing that happens when you find your people. You know, the people that just really get you, that from almost instantly you see yourself in them and they see themselves in you, and you know that you'll be friends for a really, really long time. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's an extraordinarily special thing that deserves attention and it deserves nurturing. So how do you know that you have found your people? And if you don't have any people that you're like, oh, they really understand me, they really get me, know that you're not alone and that you can go and broaden your horizons and find the people that really, really get you. How can you do it though? Number one, really know what you like to do by knowing yourself. When you know who you really are, it allows you to find people that appreciate you for exactly who you are and not anyone different. Be cognizant and allow your intuition to speak to you, especially when you meet new people and you just don't know if their message resonates with you or not. But if their core message does, pay very, very close attention to that. Be comfortable to share your own ideas, because this will help you attract people that match your ideals. Don't be like you were back in middle school or high school, where many people change themselves to fit a model of what we think that we are supposed to be. Be yourself and be your own model. That's going to be a great way for you to know who you are, be who you are, and attract the people that will respect that. The next thing that you need to do is to know what you need. We all have different needs. Are you looking for people to go on a deep spiritual journey with? Are you looking for people that just want to have fun and go hiking or do some other kind of outdoors activities? Are you looking for someone who can really listen and be there for you? Are you looking for someone to travel with? Know what you're looking for in a person that you would consider a friend, a supporter, or a mentor. Ask yourself questions about how you can best receive the emotional support that you need within the universe. Now, this is not to say that we go into friendships thinking of them as one-sided. You also need to think about what are the types of things that you are able to give freely to a friend or a family member that really gets you. What are you looking for? If you're looking for a mentor, someone to raise you up in the universe, what is your end of the obligation? I'm telling you, if you're looking for a mentor, you better be ready to step up and do the work. So just because you're identifying what your emotional needs are, you're also identifying what it means to step up to the plate and fulfill your obligations as either a friend, a supporter, a mentor, a mentee, a supportee, or maybe you are just there to really go through something with someone on not only a friendly level, but perhaps there's even something deeper where there is a really deep-rooted love connection, irrespective of a physical relationship. But there are some people that you just love from your very, very depths. Be open to formal, informal. I love how Darren Hardy says in his book, there are some people that are the 3-week relationships. You've got those friends, you've got the 30-year, 40-year relationships with your family and with your spouses, with your children, etc. You've got very extensive relationships with them. When it comes to friends, there are some friends that you can handle for 3 weeks. And, you wouldn't mind going on an around the world cruise with them or going backpacking across Europe for 3 weeks. You wouldn't mind going and doing some really long outdoor hike. But there are other people that you got 3 days. All right, we can hop on a plane. We can go to a resort. We can check out the beach. And then we're going to go home. There are other people that you have 3-hour relationships with. You can come to dinner and then it's time to go. Then you have the people that you have the 3-minute long relationships with who you can be cordial with. This is a very informal relationship. No need to be rude, no need to be standoffish, but just know that when you get to about that 3 minutes, that's it. That's the end of the communication. So be open to both things formal and informal. One of the ways to find informal relationships that can turn into more serious and sustained relationships are to find other people who like to do what you do. If you love puppies, Lord knows there's a lot of people getting together. You will know the dogs' names before you know the people's names. I guarantee it. If you love golf, find people who love to golf. If you love whatever you love, find other people that like to do what you want to do. And you might engage with them on social media, but then you have to take that next step. There needs to be that next step of that genuine human connection where you participate, you throw yourself out there, even if it's a little bit scary. If you go, what if they don't like me? Well, that's the way that it goes. You may feel like you have an instant connection with someone and then realize, oh no, maybe this is not the right thing for me. But if you're doing things that you love and you're going places that you enjoy, you might just run into some people who like frequenting those same places and enjoy the same things. And so even if this is somebody that you have a 3-hour long relationship with, that you can get together, you can hang out, but then eventually you guys are going home, okay, great. At least you know that you're somewhere that you like to be, surrounded by things that you like to do. So even if it's not the greatest conversation, it's not a soul-shattering kind of conversation, you at least know that you'll have something easy and mutual to discuss. And that could lead to many, many more open doors where you begin to understand, oh, well, this is going a little bit deeper than we thought. Or eventually, after a couple years of playing disc golf with people that all you talked about was disc golf, you meet somebody that you genuinely care about, that your relationship becomes so much more than just disc golf. It becomes discourse on whatever the big topics in life are that you like to talk about, be it spirituality, be it politics and government, be it healthcare, be it issues around justice and race and ethics and equality. Whatever it is that you love, you can find people that have that same resonance. It's just important that you know yourself, you know what you love to do, you put yourself out there, and you really are open and honest. You are really open and honest, and you're open not only in your viewpoints on life while remaining kind and respectful and walking away if things ever get heated, but remember that when you're open to serendipitously just meeting someone out there in the world, you can open yourself up for some of the greatest blessings that perhaps you have ever known in a friendship. Someone who not only likes to do what you want to do and likes to talk about the same things that you like to talk about, but someone who enjoys the understanding of the universe in a similar level to you. When you find those people, your people, the ones that really get you, hold on to them tight because they only come around every so often. The Lindsay Elmore Show is written and produced by me, Lindsay Elmore. Show segments are produced by Sue Procco and Kelsey Lorman. Production design, sound design, and editing is by Jive Media. If you have a question about this or any other episode of the podcast, send us an email to hello@lindsayelmoreshow.com. And hey, since you're still here, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And while you're at it, go over and follow us on Instagram @Lindsay Elmore Show. This helps us bring the pod to more people.